Sabah al-Khair, good morning dear listeners. You're listening to Radio 3CR on 855 AM and Palestine Remembered with Robert Martin, Nasser Mashni and Yousef Ahmed al-Rimawi.
Palestine Remembered is Australia's only English-language radio program that is totally dedicated to Palestine. We'd like to welcome those listening on 855 and those that will join us on podcast at 3cr.org.au.
Thanks for joining us. Stay with us and enjoy the episode.
Good morning, Nasser.
Yousef, how you doing?
Well, it's been a long time. I would like to welcome our dear listeners again. And I have to take all of the blame for not being on air for the last few weeks. I've been exceptionally busy, but Palestine Remembered is back.
We're back, but to give us our listeners some comfort, we have been very busy putting PAL-vember together, Yousef.
Yes.
You would have just heard our ad, so hopefully our listeners will come to all of our events in PAL-vember starting 25 October, but if they go to apan.org.au, apan.org.au, they can find details, organise tickets, and we'd love to see them there. But we're back, and importantly, I've just come back from Palestine, Yousef.
Yes, that's amazing. Myself have not seen you since you've back, so my questions will be very genuine, not just for the episode or the show. So let's start with whatever you want to tell us about the trip before you enter Palestine. Talk to me about the emotion of your... I understand you went with your family members, some of them.
Yeah. So my brother and I took our 4 boys, so it was just a boy trip, and we must apologise to our
female members,
our wives and daughters and mother. My mother was very upset that she wasn't allowed to come, but the purpose of the trip was to give my nephews, who this was their first chance to visit Palestine, to give them a chance to see as much of Palestine as we could in 10 days. And they have a young sister who's only 7 years old, and we wouldn't have been able to travel as hard, as fast, for as long. It was an exhausting trip because we were trying to cover so much ground.
So your kids have been to Palestine,
my sons
not
have.
Your nephews. Tell me about their expectations, or did they share anything before they go?
I think their expectations were kind of holiday, you know, and even for my children who've been before and seen and have asked questions like, but Baba, why are they building on our land? And Baba, why has everybody got a gun? And Baba, why can't we drive on that road? And Baba, how come there's no grass here but there's grass over there? And Baba, how come we have water tanks on our houses and they don't? And Baba, why can't we turn the light on? And Baba, why can't we flush the toilet here like we flush it at home? And all of the differences that is life for a Palestinian under occupation that isn't life for an Israeli settler in the West Bank or an Israeli within 48 Palestine or in West Jerusalem and not East Jerusalem. So they were aware and are aware of the situation of occupation, but, you know, dad, uncle, cousins, the wolf pack is away, they're thinking holiday, yeah? That being said, you know, the flight over, we are filled with nervous energy, apprehension. We landed, in fact, on the first weekend after the summer holidays. And during the summer holidays, the Allenby Bridge is open 24/7. I never knew that. But because there's so much movement from all over the world into the West Bank, the Allenby Bridge is very, very open. But here we were, we landed on a Saturday morning, and now after the summer, for the 9 months of the year when visits are way down, on Friday closes at lunchtime, on Saturday it closes at lunchtime for the Muslims to go to mosque and for the Jews to go to temple. No consideration for Christians on Sunday. It's still open 9 till 5, or I think 8 till 6 on the Sundays. So we landed and we said to the cab driver off to the bridge, and he said, "The bridge? Are you sure?" I said, "Yeah, of course we want to go to the bridge." He said, "Well, you know, it closes early today." I said, "What do you mean it closes early?" He said, "Well, today's the first day of the non-summer." I said, "Well, you better step on it." Well, then we had the 2 taxis having a race, you know, with no seatbelts on, steering with their knees, drinking a cup of coffee with a cigarette hanging out of their mouth. Jordanian cab drivers doing 140, you know. Anyway, we made it. We got on the last bus, and the last bus got us just across the bridge in time. It closed behind us, so we were very fortuitous. And then we, had the usual expat Palestinian experience being dealt with by, a 20-something-year-old Israeli
bored teenager soldier.
What was in our favour? What was in our favour is that they were pretty keen to go home. So the process was significantly quicker than usual, in the sense that it has taken me before 28 hours. So anything better than 28 hours is quick. But the general process has been somewhere between 4 and 7 hours.
Hold on. Let's remind our listeners. So you spent more than a day at one...
sitting on a steel seat. Sitting on a steel seat while they did security checks. And I was no less Palestinian then, no less an advocate then, no more pro-BDS, anti-Zionism then than I am now. In fact, I don't know if I've changed. I think just a bit greyer, Yousef. And we had prepared ourselves, were hydrated, and had a couple of snacks with us, which is something you learn. And we got through in 2 and a bit hours, I think, just under 3 hours anyway, from go to woe, which, when you consider how long it takes to enter a normal country as a human being, 3 hours is a really long time.
Of course.
Standing around.
Of course.
But, when I approached the gate in my thickest Australian accent, "G'day, mate, how you doing?" And the sort of look of, "Oh, what's this guy doing coming here?" He looks like them, but sort of sounds like a good guy.
He does not sound like them.
He sounds like a good guy.
Yeah.
And then, pass the passport over, and then they start reading the names of, our children, whether it's Nasser,
you cannot be more Palestinian or Arab
Jamal. They start, the questions start. Where are you going? Who you're seeing? How long are you here for? Why are you coming? What are you doing? Why are you here? Why are you coming? You're Australian. Why are you coming? Where was your dad born? What's your grandfather's name? What village was he from? Why are you here? Where are you going? Why are you coming? And so you just, repetitive. Come on a holiday. Can't wait to see your lovely country. Yes, we want to visit the beaches and can't wait to see what a wonderful place this is. We've heard so many good stories. And you have to be as gracious as possible. And the argument is, how much of your dignity are you willing to lose? Because the reality is, you actually want to say, who the F do you think you are? You agree
to ask a landowner why he or she
but
is doing.
The reality, the power in that space rests with a 22 or 24-year-old guy that was my person. Actually, both my brother and I were served, by young guys, and you just have to do what you have to do. But in the end, thankfully, we got through.
So you made it to Palestine?
Very excitedly. And then it was...
What was the first thing you went to? Did you just take... did you go to Jerusalem or Ramallah, or where did you want to go first?
Yeah, we went straight to Jerusalem. So we always stay in Jerusalem, and very importantly, because the Palestinians of Jerusalem are disconnected from
to the rest of West Bank.
And also the 48 Palestinians.
Yeah.
And increasingly so economically, it's very difficult.
Let's pause here and talk about the 3 modes of lives that Israel created between Jerusalem, West Bank, and 48 areas. And maybe we can say 4 modes of lives, including Gaza.
And 5 modes,
and 5
including...
that's applicable to us.
Yeah.
So Jerusalem, unlike the rest of West Bank, they don't have Palestinian Authority passports, or some of them don't even have the Jordanian passports. And they live as permanent residents in their own city. And unlike the people of 48, they do not have citizens or passports. So they are not as fortunate as the 48 Palestinians. And they are not... So we can talk about Jerusalem later, but it's a different level of...
They're not afforded the opportunity to vote in elections. They're not citizens. They don't have rights. They have to prove that Jerusalem is the center of their life for everything from income to living to life. Otherwise, that residency is revoked.
And they pay as much taxes as Jewish Jerusalemites, but receive 20% services.
Yeah, 1/5, and less. I
Or
mean, if you
maybe
see if you see the streets, the frequency of rubbish pickup, the quality of the schoolrooms, the road
Hospitals.
infrastructure, the hospitals, it's
Completely
suggested it's 150, but
disproportionate.
it's got to be less than 150.
So you went to Jerusalem.
Straight to Jerusalem, and of course the obligatory photograph from the Mount of Olives, back of the Dome of the Rock and the ancient walls of Jerusalem. So the kids got a bit excited about that, and then straight to the hotel. And to give listeners an idea, from door to door, from our home to checking in at the hotel, we were 27 hours. So by that point, the word is toast. We were toast. So we checked in and had a quick shower, and then we walked immediately to the Damascus Gate, Bab al-Hamoud, and the old city of Jerusalem. We took the kids around, and we ate Palestinian food in Palestine. I think it's something that the kids, you could almost see it in their faces. And now my children, they're 16 and 14, almost 17 and 15, and my nephews are 17 and 15. There's a greater realization and understanding of A, the situation, but B, the acceptance of belonging. Now, the reality is, if you've got a funny name and a funny religion and a funny skin colour in Anglo-Saxon Australia on stolen land, you don't feel like you belong. I mean, the reality is you walk in a shopping centre and, the dominant race is white. The language is English. It's not our food. It's not our culture. It's not they're not our names. People can't pronounce our names. The sounds and smells are Anglo-Saxon. In reality, that is Australia post-colonialism. But in Palestine, the sounds, the smells, the music, the call to prayer, the
background,
food,
the
ambience, everybody's skin, everybody's name, everyone can pronounce. There is an innate sense, a feeling of belonging. And you're home. You're home. And even though there's guns and Israeli soldiers and they're chewing their gum, and ill-fitting army suits, you can see that because they're all conscripts, and they just keep passing the uniforms to the next kid and say, "This is yours." I mean, they don't look respectable. They look like beggars. They don't belong. They obviously don't belong.
Not to mention settlers.
And no, settlers. I mean, they're just we don't see many. You don't see settlers in Jerusalem.
The old city.
Yeah, you see the Jews you see are Hasidic, very religious, head down, and they're walking from home to prayer. You can see the settlers at the homes that have been stolen off Palestinians, and any homes that have been surreptitiously bought off Palestinians have huge Israeli flags on them. But you don't get the sense of a settler like you do in Hebron, which is, we'll talk about that in a second, which is a completely different situation. But inside Jerusalem, I mean, they're disheveled, the soldiers, and but that sense of belonging. So we had hummus straight away and falafel, and such wonderful Palestinian cuisine that is being appropriated and stolen by the Israelis to create some level of culture.
Not that they kept the right pronunciation with hummus. If you want to steal something, don't mess with the name.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So we had a great first day, and then from there, the adventure began. So day 2 we were.
But before that, on Jerusalem,
yes.
In one of my interviews in Arabic with a Palestinian from Al-Quds, he told me that the people of Jerusalem are tired. They are exhausted of every aspect of their life is affected by occupation. It's not just the military aspect of it. It's the financial burden. It's the psychological pressure. It's the loss of a family member due to war or imprisonment. There's more price that the people of Jerusalem pay compared to maybe the rest of Palestinians. Did you feel the tiresome among the Palestinians of Al-Quds when you went there?
Yeah. Look, it's tough. and it's getting tougher. There used to be, the markets were busier. It's quiet, and I don't know what it is. I think there was a huge amount previously, a couple of years ago, a real movement of Palestinians from the north of 48 were very conscious, and they used to come in buses, organised buses, to Jerusalem, and would buy their produce from there, because most of that produce came from the West Bank. And so they did two things: A, support a farmer in the West Bank, and B, support a shopkeeper in Jerusalem. A Jerusalemite, yeah. And I don't know exactly why and how that's been broken down. I can't believe that it hasn't been facilitated by the Zionists. But it certainly was less busy.
Not to mention that they isolated them from their natural
customer base, which is the West Bank.
West Bank.
Yeah, because ordinarily, theoretically, the East Jerusalemites, their natural captive market is, in fact, the West Bank.
To the extent that most of the traders, most of the merchants of Jerusalem are originally from Hebron.
Yeah, but with the wall and with all of the security apparatus cutting East Palestine,
and their plan to create Greater Jerusalem municipality for Jews only.
It's made it tougher, and it's part of the slow ethnic cleanse, the ongoing Nakba, to make things so unbearable as to force Palestinians
slowly.
But even as bad as it is, the resolution in the Palestinians, the steadfastness is remains awesome and inspiring. There's no question they're going nowhere.
You've met one of the Palestinians who had recently lost his home.
Yeah.
He was born in. He was kicked out with his family, but nevertheless he returns and kept his little.
He's just got
kiosk.
His little kiosk. It's barely a wall, and he's there from sort of lunchtime till dark, whenever dark might be, selling his wares, and it's a very modest stall, and I can hardly imagine that he earns enough to put food on the table. But this
steadfastness,
resilience, beyond imagining. Lost his home, and his family is now homeless. He's an internally displaced Palestinian, another victim of the ongoing Nakba, but he's not going anywhere.
So after Al-Quds,
that was that day. The next day, we first stop was we actually went from there to Orient House, Yousef.
Beit al-Sharq, Faisal Husseini.
Yeah. And opposite Orient House, and this used to be the PLO's office in Jerusalem before the Israelis closed it down for our listeners. Opposite Orient House is an orphanage where Hind al-Husseini turned it into a school. She turned it into... Well, she went to Deir Yassin after April 1948, that most infamous massacre that the Zionists killed enough people to create enough terror, but left enough people alive and sent them north, south, east and west, and said, go and tell them we're coming.
And Menachem Begin said that had it not been for Deir Yassin, the state of Israel would not have been established.
Would not exist if it wasn't for Deir Yassin. And this is from their own mouths. The ethnic cleansing plan Dalit was something that was thought through and organized. It wasn't an accident or by consequence.
Isolated.
No.
So Huda al-Husseini took some of the orphans?
Well, she had 134 Palestinian pounds. And with that, she set up an orphanage. And today, it's a school and something really to be proud of. From there, we, took the coastal road all the way to Haifa. And on the way to Haifa, we passed Tulkarm. Now, Tulkarm is in the West Bank, but it's actually at a very thin part of Israel, according to the 49 Armistice line, the Green Line. And Tulkarm is on a hill, and it's fantastic what they've done. So as you're driving on this main highway between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, it's like 4 lanes either way, it's a super highway, there is a flag, would have to be the size of 2 houses, on a huge flagpole, a big Palestinian flag. You cannot not see it.
Yeah,
it's unmissable how big it is.
So every Israeli,
Every Israeli
Zionist
going north or
was
every
going
Israeli going south,
in your face.
it's in your face. It's this huge. I mean, it's awesome. Just a public display
awesome.
of, we're here. So we went to Haifa, and then the thing from the Israeli side, the wall has got landscaping on it. They've disguised it so you can't even see the wall. Whereas on the Palestinian side, it's just brutal concrete structure. On the Israeli side, they've got sand mounded up against it, soil, that's got grass on it. They've put trees there. So as you're driving, you cannot tell that there's a wall. There's no concept of separation.
They built a wall to turn our lives into hell, but they don't want to be affected by it, even visually.
Yeah. So we went to Haifa and to Akka and to the very north of Palestine, Ras Al Nakura, where there's a tunnel there that shows the old train line that used to run from Beirut to Jerusalem. We saw the Palestine-Lebanon border, and then we came home.
But not to Safad.
Not to Safad.
Next time you should go to Safad.
Next time we have to go.
For me.
Yeah, listen, it's, I can't believe we didn't go this time.
Next time.
Yeah, inshallah. The next day we took the kids to Bethlehem, and we went to the Banksy Waldorf Hotel, which is really something amazing and a must-see for everyone.
So in 30 seconds, there's a little bit of controversy over that hotel.
I know the controversy that it's.
The question is why, and what do you think? Why is there controversy, and what do you think?
The controversy is around profiting from the occupation. The reality is that the man has put in. There is millions of dollars of art in there, millions of dollars, and I say that because of what his pieces command. All of the original pieces are in there on display for everyone. Every one of those pieces is pro-Palestine, anti-occupation, number one. Number two, every human that works in there is a Palestinian from Bethlehem.
There you go.
Not a white person. Number three, all the money, every piece of product, everything is locally sourced, locally owned, locally manufactured, supporting the local economy. Number four, because it's Banksy, every guest in there is white.
Yeah.
Every guest is in there in white, sees, and the reality. This is the reality of of colonialism, of white supremacy, of the privilege of white power. Is if a white person tells them this is bad,
then it is bad.
Then it is bad, and they can go back and tell. So there isn't a white person that doesn't go to the Banksy Hotel to say, "Ooh, how cool am I? I'm at a Banksy Hotel." That doesn't come away being an advocate for Palestine.
Yep.
Having supported the Palestinian economy, having supported Palestinians. So I'm was in the sort of 50-50 space.
Until you've seen it.
And maybe that's wrong. Maybe I was sort of 40-60 and 60 being pro, but still some reservations.
Yep.
Having seen it, I'm 150% pro.
Okay.
We need more Banksy hotels in Palestine.
Okay.
And from there we went to Bethlehem and to the Church of the Nativity, where Jesus was born. We ate at the very famous Aftims in Bethlehem. This was opened in 1948 by a Palestinian from Jaffa, and he makes the world's best falafel and hummus.
I don't know if you've heard of the joke that the Vatican still owes Palestinian the bill for the Last Supper.
For the Last Supper.
Nobody has paid for it yet.
So there. And then from there, very importantly, we should speak about, we took the kids to Hebron. And we spoke about settlers in Jerusalem, Yousef. There's nothing like seeing
reality in Hebron.
A middle-aged, overweight, very religious Jewish woman carrying a machine gun. It's really confronting. It's confronting to see an army guy wearing it, but a mother holding her children's hands with a machine gun over her shoulder. It's scary.
Only in Palestine.
Only in Palestine, and particularly in Hebron. And we've spoken many times about, the Baruch Goldstein and the murderous, savage dog that he was.
And our listeners can go and look up our interview on the massacre of Hebron.
Yes.
The documentary we reproduced in English.
Yeah, at the Ibrahimi Mosque from 1994. But to walk Shahada Street with the kids and show them, what was and should be a bustling old city. And, you know, all of the Palestinian cities have old cities, whether it's Yafa, Haifa, Akka, Jerusalem.
Like
Khalil,
Damascus, like Beirut.
Yeah, Al-Khalil, Hebron has an old city, you know, that's hundreds and hundreds of years old. And to see all of those shops boarded up, you know, with steel, to see the number of Israeli soldiers, I mean, not one, two, not tens, but hundreds of them on every corner. The cameras, the apparatus is really something else. So from there, we took the kids to Jericho and, you know, all over. One of the things that was particularly haunting for the kids, we took the kids to Sderot. I don't know how to pronounce it. Sderot. And took them to that hilltop where, you know, the Israelis camped out for the cinema show when the Israelis were bombing Gaza. To the actual hill.
Let's rephrase to listeners. During the bombardment of Gaza, during the war atrocities against Palestinians, so what did the next door neighbor do? So they went out and they have a good night out.
They took some couches with them.
And they just watched the open cinema.
So we sat on that hill. That famous place where the New York Times took that picture of these people with a disused
celebrating our death,
watching the show, the light show of all the bombs coming down, raining upon us. And we took the kids there. And I said to them, look, this is as close to Gaza as we can get. You can see the fence. There's 365 square kilometers surrounded by the fence and the water. The water's patrolled by Israeli Navy boats and around it by Israeli guns. And tanks and munitions and drones and the guard towers. 2 million people are trapped in there in 365 kilometres. And this is something we'd driven for best part of an hour and a half to get there from Jerusalem. The land is empty. It's all agricultural land. And Dr. Salman Abu Sitta had a talk, and one of the things we spoke about is just how easy it is for most Palestinians, most of the refugees, to return to their lands, not just their homes, but to their lands, because that land is not being used. The 70% of the residents of Jerusalem are refugees from lands less than a day's walk from where they live. Now, this is something I had never actually calculated before. 365 kilometres, 2 million people. That's 5,500 people per square kilometre. Australia has 25 million people in 7.7 million kilometres. That's 3 people per kilometre. If Australia had the same population density as Gaza,
what's our population would be?
42.5 billion people.
Billion.
That's
more than the population of Earth.
7 times the current population of Earth, or 6 times the current population of Earth would be in Australia.
Yeah. Let that sink.
42.5 billion people in Australia. You think people have got traffic now? Imagine them all being there.
Nasser, there is an important topic you touched on, the tour of Dr. Salman Abu Sitta, one of our most knowledgeable Palestinians alive, and who we were fortunate enough to see him here in Melbourne and in Adelaide and in Canberra. I don't want to talk about him in less than.
We'll do a special show on
let's give him the time he deserves, but next week. But before we end the episode, November is coming up, which is an exciting month for Palestinians in Melbourne. What's happening, Nasser, in November?
Listeners, don't forget PAL-vember is coming up, starting off in late October, 25th of October, the Global Gardens of Peace, which is a fundraiser for a garden in Gaza. From the 31st of October to the 5th of November, the 10th Palestine Film Festival. The 6th to the 8th of November, the Black Palestine Solidarity Conference at Melbourne University. The 9th of November, Let's Talk Palestine, the Averroes Centre for Arab Culture. The 15th of November, Palestine National Day. The 17th of November, Run for Palestine, and culminating with the Jerusalem Peace Prize on the 22nd of November. So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you go to apan.org.au, and find out details of PAL-vember for 2019.
That's it. With this, we've come to the end of our edition of Palestine Remembered. Thanks for tuning in. And hopefully the 3 of us will see you next week. Until then, this is Nasser and Yousef wishing you the best of time, and salam.